Kieran Maguire, the football finance expert, joins us to talk through some of the big stories that are doing the rounds business-wise in football. Hi, Kieran. Happy New Year to you.
New Year, guys. Great to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too. Leicester facing a nervous wait to discover whether they'll be charged by the Premier League with breaching PSR for a second successive season. Now, they got off because of a loophole in the summer, but what's the current situation? Because I think because they were on a warning, they had to file their accounts on New Year's Day.
Absolutely right, Sam. Every club that had lost money over the last two seasons in the Premier League had to submit their accounts by the end of last year. So those will have been sent in. The Premier League now realistically is around about 2 weeks to go through those figures with a fine-tooth comb. The noises I'm getting from Leicester is that they feel very confident. They will say that if we take a look at what's happened since they were relegated, the sale of James Maddison, Harvey Barnes, Timothy Castagna, Keenan Dewsbury Hall, you have the likes of Tielemans going off the wage bill has helped them. At the same time, they were promoted straight back from the Championship, and therefore they would have had promotion bonuses on that. So I think they will be in very much a sort of squeaky bum territory. But they seem confident. The noises I'm getting from elsewhere aren't as positive.
Okay, I'll come back to that in just a second, but I want to ask a question why they're confident and not certain. Because clearly this is a mathematical equation that has been done, and you either are or you are not in breach of the regulations. So I don't understand how there's sort of like a period of assessment and then we sort of decide whether or not they're in the breach of PSR. But they should know, right? Because it's like, adding up.
It is. I mean, in theory, it should be the same as goal line technology. The ball's either over the line or not over the line. But then you come into the dark arts of accountancy, Sam, which is where shades of grey start to arise. And we saw last year, for example, when actually Leicester City effectively charged the Premier League, they managed to prove that they weren't in the Premier League at the end of the 22-23 season, despite playing 38 games in the Premier League that season. And that's down to the genius of their lawyer, Nick DeMarco, who knows his way around. And I think he's expressed the view that and others have as well, that the rules that the Premier League have, because they've got this sort of hand-in-hand relationship with the EFL, don't really work particularly well when you've got clubs sliding either down a division or up a division. And this has caused the problems. In terms of should they know the numbers, the answer is sort of yes. But when you look at the PSR rules, you start off with the profit from the accounts, then you add back some money for academy play, for the cost of running the academy. Well, I know some academy directors who say, well, I'm given a £6 million budget, but I'm only actually allowed to spend £2 million of it. And where the other £4 million goes, I can't say. So, there are ways to get around the rules. Your infrastructure costs, the cost of running the community scheme, the losses being made by the women's team, all of these are adjusted for. And there are ways to sort of inflate some numbers and deflate others. And I think this is where the definitive final calculation becomes a little bit more murky.
Kieran, obviously a lot of focus on Leicester. Which other clubs do you think will be feeling a little bit nervous? I mean, Manchester United, for example, we've joked about it. They've launched another huge sale in their mega store on New Year's Day. Is there any concern that they could find themselves on the wrong side of PSR as well?
No, Manchester United are fine. If you take a look at their spending over the course of the last window, that was extremely bullish as far as the club was concerned. Manchester United are spectacularly good at generating revenue. And remember, they had the sales of Greenwood and McTominay, which again, the former academy players, which go into these equations, certainly help. And that was certainly the push factor, again, looking at Leicester from the Keenan Dewsbury Hall sale.
So Jim is just being mean then with all these cutbacks?
He's trying to turn Manchester United into a chemical plant, and he's very good at controlling costs in a chemical plant. But those costs tend to be material based rather than human based. So he's very good when it comes to products. When it comes to the service sector, I think his track record is less spectacular.
But they're not going to have any money to spend in January, really, are they?
No. I mean, I think they'll have to spend cute rather than spend big. Remember, for every position further up the Premier League you are, it's worth an extra £3.5 million. There's a £10 million penalty from Adidas if they fail to qualify for the Champions League next season. So all of these will have been factored in. There's the cost of recruiting and then sacking Dan Ashworth. There's the cost of recruiting the new manager, the was it £11.4 million cost of getting rid of Ten Hag. All of these are going into the 24-25 figures, plus the redundancy costs for the staff that they've made redundant. So there's not a lot of leeway.
Okay, talk to me about Nottingham Forest. Evangelos Marinakis has converted loans worth £82 million into shares. How does this help them fight PSR?
Well, from I think it's the 15th of January, we've got the new associated party transaction rules which come in. And they say that if an owner has lent money to the football club interest-free, what we're now going to do is that we're going to invent an interest charge. So the likes of Marinakis and some of the other owners, and there's over a dozen owners in the Premier League who have lent money. Even though they won't physically receive interest, there'll be an interest charge going into the PSR calculations. So the Premier League gave
What's the reason for that? Why would you do that? Just for those who don't understand that, why would you make up an interest charge that you shouldn't be in charge to penalise the clubs? What is it? What is that for?
Well, this was on the back of the Manchester City case, where Manchester City were able to claim that their commercial deals with some of their partners in Abu Dhabi, which are at generous prices, generous isn't the same as an incorrect price, were being questioned, and yet owners were allowed to lend money to football clubs interest-free, which gave the clubs in receipt of those loans a benefit, because if I lend money to you, Sam, interest-free, then it's saving you money compared to borrowing money from a bank or from another lender. So the Premier League, in order to be consistent, said, if the owner does lend money to the club, we're now going to invent an interest charge, and we're going to put that through as effectively a market rate. So what Marinakis has done is said, well, fair play. If those are the rules, I'm going to convert my loans into shares, and there's no interest on shares. So therefore, from Forest's point of view, and Forest have been sort of ahead of the curve in respect not only of what we've seen on the field this season, but also off it. And this will allow the club to continue to be able to invest in this window and going forwards as well.
What sort of window are you expecting, Kieran? Is it going to be a busy one in the Premier League, or are there too many clubs who are hampered by PSR rules? Are we going to see more loan deals than we are permanent transfers, do you think?
I think there's still quite a few clubs that do have flexibility. It's really a case of, with the expansion of the Champions League, are there actual players available in January for clubs to sign? So there's going to be a real bun fight, I think, for probably the positions 3 and 4 as far as Champions League places are concerned. We could, of course, have 5 Champions League places for English clubs next season. So there's a huge incentive to get into it, because it's worth so much more money. For every £1 you're getting in the Europa League, you're probably taking home 5 to 6 in the Champions League. So if there is the opportunity to spend, I think we will see clubs do it. But at the same time, they are aware of what we saw last season with the charges against Everton and Nottingham Forest, which showed that the Premier League means business when it comes to PSR. So therefore, nobody's, I think, wants to get too close to the line. And yes, they managed to all use that sort of transfer window within a transfer window last season by hitting the 30th of June target and selling your academy players. But that involves having another friendly club who's in a similar position to be able to have those swaps. That's not guaranteed every summer. Okay,
Kieran, thank you very much. We didn't get to ask you about Reading, but Reading in a terrible situation. Their owner, Da Young, still hasn't published the club's accounts for 22-23. As a result, Reading can't buy anyone as a result of his actions. And, Noel Hunt's doing a very good job there since coming in as the new manager.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.